Airbus, however, is probably about a $50 billion advantage over it from a debt standpoint.
The rise of Airbus from a turbulent beginning to a powerhouse in global industry is a tale marked by ambition, conflict, and continuous advancement. Bavarian politician Franz Josef Strauss, driven by his passion for aircraft and influence, rallied Europe to challenge the dominance of American aviation giants. Amidst risky technological ventures by Airbus engineers, internal disputes over the company's direction intensified, exacerbated by intense competition with Boeing that jeopardized its future success. The man who believed in wings. Franz Josef Strauss wasn't your average guy. He hailed from Bavaria, born with a mix of ambition, controversy, and undeniable brilliance that left its mark on Europe. From a humble butcher's son, he rose to shape post-war Germany. But his true passion lay in aviation. Flying wasn't just about excitement for him, it symbolized progress, showcasing Europe's technological prowess alongside the US and the USSR. Legend has it that during Munich airport's construction, Strauss, frustrated with slow progress, took matters into his own hands, shaping a runway himself, creating what's now known as Strauss Mountain. Strauss was all in from the start. With Germany's aviation industry still reeling from war, he focused on reviving its glory. Similar ambitions brewed across Europe, with France dreaming of jet airliners breaking barriers and Britain pushing aeronautical boundaries. Strauss's unwavering belief in European unity led him to champion Airbus, not just as a business venture, but as a symbol of European reunification. He was the driving force, determined to propel a collaborative Airbus into the skies, no matter the hurdles. The seeds of a European giant. The birth of Airbus was not from a single grand vision. It emerged from a complex web of motivations, both technological and political, that simmered on both sides of the Rhine River. In the early 1960s, both France and Germany possessed the fragments of a world-class aerospace industry. They had designers with ambition, engineers with leftover war-forged skills, and the burning desire to reclaim their place in the skies. But resources were limited, and neither nation could go it alone. Airbus was the perfect embodiment of this unity, a tangible project merging engineering prowess with a political purpose. Yet, forging this binational engine was fraught with challenges. National pride clashed with the need for compromise. Engineers from different backgrounds locked horns on design philosophies. Political winds shifted, threatening to ground the entire project before it took off. The sheer audacity of the endeavor was mind-boggling at the time. They wanted to create a wide-body airliner with 2 engines at a time when long-haul flights were dominated by 3- and 4-engine giants. Just the idea was enough to send cautious financiers fleeing. The birth of the A300. The A300 was a risky venture from the start. Convincing airlines that a twin-engine plane could safely fly long distances was tough, but Airbus engineers, led by Roger Bataille, trusted their math and the potential of new engines like those from General Electric. The A300's wide-body design changed how passengers experienced flights. Airlines could carry more people and make more money on popular routes between big cities. But its wider fuselage created challenges. How could they efficiently load and unload cargo and speed up turnaround times at airports? It wasn't just about the plane. Ground operations needed innovation too. This plane wasn't just bigger, it was a whole new way of designing aircraft. They used lighter materials to save fuel. Choices about cockpit layout and crew numbers shaped how planes were flown for years. Putting the A300 together was like a huge puzzle, but seeing its giant fuselage on the road was a sight that amazed people in small towns along the route. Taking flight. The A300's revolutionary design and European pedigree were one thing, but convincing airlines to place their trust and millions of dollars in this newcomer was quite another. The 1970s aviation market was dominated by the American giants, Boeing with its venerable 747 and McDonnell Douglas with its DC-10 trijet. These were proven aircraft, backed by established networks of support and spare parts. Airbus faced the classic innovator's dilemma. The A300 was more fuel efficient, more spacious for passengers, and potentially cheaper to operate. But airlines are notoriously cautious, especially when the consequences of equipment failure are so severe. Airbus was a gamble, an untested entity up against industry titans. The first few years were lean, partly due to government pressure. Airbus became adept at the art of the lease, offering tempting short-term deals to let hesitant airlines try the A300 in action. Strauss wasn't afraid to leverage his political influence to secure early orders for Airbus planes, especially from the state-owned German airline Lufthansa. This was a controversial tactic, but demonstrates his relentless drive to get Airbus off the ground. The marketing push painted the A300 as the embodiment of the future. It was pitched to airlines as a technological leap forward, a way to attract passengers with its wider seats and quieter cabin. Yet, Airbus was still a fledgling company compared to the Americans. The infrastructure and the global support system simply didn't match what customers were used to. It would take time and demonstrable success to break down these barriers of doubt. Diversification and innovation. During the A300's gradual rise, Airbus didn't stop innovating. They aimed to create a range of aircraft to suit every market need and push technological boundaries. The A310, a smaller version of the A300, was introduced in the early 1980s, offering advanced features for medium to long-range flights. This move expanded Airbus's market reach, showcasing its ability to meet diverse airline requirements. Even more groundbreaking was Airbus's adoption of fly-by-wire technology in the A320 program. Unlike traditional aircraft, which use hydraulic and cable systems to transmit pilot commands, fly-by-wire employs electronic signals. This innovation reduces aircraft weight and potentially enhances flight safety. Despite industry concerns, Airbus boldly introduced fly-by-wire controls in the A320, which debuted with Air France in 1988 as the first commercial airliner to utilize this technology. Although some pilots initially hesitated, the A320 demonstrated the system's safety and efficiency benefits, reshaping not just aviation, but also Airbus's identity. A new rivalry emerges. For decades, US aerospace giant Boeing had enjoyed near dominance of the market for large civilian aircraft. That began to change with the rise of Airbus. The A340 earned its stripes by conducting some of the longest non-stop commercial flights at the time. A Singapore Airlines A340 flight flew an astonishing 15,344 kilometers from Singapore to Newark, demonstrating its long-haul capabilities. What was once a comfortable status quo transformed into a relentless struggle for both technological innovation and market share. With Airbus proving its mettle via the A300 and A310, Boeing was forced to react. The 757 and 767 were direct responses to the European challenge. The aviation world, once so predictable, suddenly became a whirlwind of back-and-forth one-upmanship. Airbus's introduction of fly-by-wire in the A320 forced Boeing to rethink its approach and eventually develop a rival system for its own upgraded jets. The competition extended to engine suppliers, with the likes of General Electric and Rolls-Royce constantly developing more powerful and fuel-efficient options. This race wasn't just happening in design studios. Through shrewd marketing and aggressive sales campaigns, Airbus began chipping away at Boeing's traditional strongholds. Carriers long seen as loyal Boeing customers started experimenting with the European upstart. Air travel was the true beneficiary of this rivalry. Airlines had more choices, and this spurred a relentless drive to offer passengers safer, more comfortable, and more technologically advanced aircraft. The Airbus-Boeing rivalry didn't simply change the industry landscape, it fueled decades of extraordinary progress that pushed the limits of what was possible in commercial aviation. Reaching for the stratosphere. In the early 2000s, Airbus had become a major player, rivaling Boeing. Still, it aimed higher. They took on their most ambitious project yet, the A380. This huge double-decker plane promised to carry over 500 passengers comfortably, reshaping long-haul travel economics. Airbus firmly believed in the hub-and-spoke air travel model, foreseeing increased air traffic and crowded airports. The A380 was their solution, designed to ferry large numbers of passengers through major hubs. Creating the A380 was a massive challenge. Airbus stretched aeronautical design, used advanced materials to manage weight, and completely revamped wiring and power systems. Despite being envisioned as the ultimate in air travel, the project was risky and costly. Each A380 was essentially a bespoke masterpiece, testing production limits. Delays, especially due to complex wiring issues, plagued the project. Beneath the technological marvel, doubts lingered about changing market dynamics. Some analysts argued that direct city-to-city flights with smaller, more efficient planes threatened the hub-and-spoke model. This uncertainty affected the A380's viability. Airlines, mindful of their finances, grew hesitant. The industry questioned if Airbus was investing in a relic of the past. Military ambitions. By this time, Airbus was well established in the commercial arena, but the company wasn't content to rest on its civilian success. It needed a slice of the lucrative military aviation market to challenge the dominance of American giants like Lockheed Martin. The A400M Atlas turboprop transport aircraft became the vehicle for this ambition. But as Airbus would soon discover, the world of military contracts was a stark contrast to the commercial airliner business. The A400M was initially envisioned as a collaborative European project to replace aging transport aircraft like the C-130 Hercules. It promised the ability to haul massive cargo, operate from short or rough airstrips, and support diverse military needs. Political wrangling quickly ensnared the project. Nations had their own agendas, their specific requirements varied, and their own domestic industries had to be appeased. Technical challenges followed, the development budget ballooned, and timelines became nebulous. Yet, Airbus was determined. Despite their disagreements, European nations recognized the need to bolster their own military capabilities independently from reliance on the United States. The A400ME became a symbol of this strategic ambition, even as its cost and complexity grew. Weathering storms. Airbus aimed high with the A380 and the A400M, striving for success in the aviation industry. However, they soon encountered significant challenges. Production issues with the A380 became a public embarrassment, causing frustration among airlines and leading to a decline in orders. This setback had a severe financial impact on Airbus, overshadowing the success of their A320 family sales. Internally, Airbus faced turmoil as national tensions arose over mounting costs, resulting in frequent leadership changes and the overhaul of plans. To address these challenges, the company implemented restructuring programs to streamline operations. These difficulties posed a serious threat to Airbus's future, with the A380 at risk of becoming a costly failure that could damage the company's reputation and credibility. Despite these obstacles, Airbus persevered. While the A380 didn't achieve the anticipated sales success, it eventually entered service, highlighting its technological advancements. Airbus learned valuable lessons about risk management and the importance of efficiency in surviving the aerospace market's volatility. As a result, the company emerged from the ordeal leaner, wiser, and more determined to align ambition with capability. Airbus today. Franz Josef Strauss passed away in 1988 with hope in his heart that one day this aerospace conglomerate would surpass its American rival, at least in Europe. In 2019, his dream came true when Airbus became the world's largest manufacturer of airliners, as well as the leading helicopter manufacturer. In the same year, the company generated a revenue of $54.7 billion. As expected, the profits decreased during the COVID-19 pandemic, but a revenue of $47.7 billion in 2023 showed that the company is still going strong. Today, Airbus boasts a diverse portfolio of aircraft catering to virtually every segment of the market. The A320 family remains the workhorse. These models are famed for their efficiency and prove popular with airlines worldwide. The long-range A330 and ultra-long-range A350 XWB offer wide-body capability with cutting-edge technology. Though production of the A380 ceased in 2021, the double-decker giant continues to operate for select airlines. Production facilities span Europe. Key assembly lines exist in Toulouse, France, Hamburg, Germany, but also Tianjin, China, and Mobile, USA. Globalization is evident, with components sourced from a worldwide network of suppliers. Beyond the commercial realm, the A400M Atlas has found its footing as a tactical workhorse for several European air forces, and Airbus's ventures in helicopters, space technologies, and defense systems have solidified its identity as a multifaceted aerospace powerhouse.